1986, a film with a budget of just 15 million USD unexpectedly swept the box office, grossing over 357 million USD worldwide. From a seemingly obscure project, it turned into a cinematic earthquake, shattering all records and becoming a pop culture icon. That is Top Gun, the legendary work that still drives the world wild to this day. Not only because of its breathtaking dogfights, but also due to a series of shocking behind-the-scenes secrets, dark truths hidden beneath its dazzling glory. During filming, there was a moment when a fighter jet suddenly dove, tearing through the sky, creating a violent airstream that nearly claimed the life of a major star. Even more, one actor plummeted straight into the Pacific Ocean and vanished forever, leaving behind the most tragic death in Hollywood history. And that's just the beginning. Behind Top Gun, countless horrifying truths have been buried for decades. All will be exposed right in this video. 1. During filming, an actor died and vanished forever. Top Gun is a film filled with numerous plane-related scenes, and anyone who's seen it is captivated by the thrilling spins and daring maneuvers. But did you know that behind those scenes lies a tragedy unlike anything before? In 1985, stunt pilot Art Scholl was tasked with performing the flat spin scene, an out-of-control spiral dive that no special effect could replicate. An experienced pilot, he confidently flew the Pitts S2 into the California sky. But tragedy struck in an instant. After a few spins, the plane lost altitude too quickly, completely out of control. Over the radio, Scholl only managed to say, "I can't get out." Those were his final words. The plane plummeted into the Pacific Ocean and disappeared. Search efforts lasted days, but not a single piece of wreckage was found, and Scholl's body remained forever at the bottom of the deep sea. The film later closed with a dedication to him, a way to honour the unfortunate stunt performer. But this shock was not the only one, because even Tom Cruise once swore he'd never return to this film. 2. Tom Cruise repeatedly swore never to make a sequel until he heard a shocking detail. Are you impressed by Tom Cruise's role in Top Gun? I was too, until I learned that he hated this film. To Cruise, Maverick's story ended for good in 1986, and he rejected every offer in the years that followed. Paramount persistently pitched a sequel, even willing to spend a massive budget to keep their biggest star. But Tom Cruise firmly shook his head. The reason was that he didn't want to tarnish the film's legacy or turn Top Gun into a commercial franchise that lost its original spirit. To Cruise, Maverick was a complete icon, and any attempt to extend it would only dilute the legend. But then, director Joseph Kosinski came with a detail that completely changed Cruise's mind. It was a script centered on Goose's son, the close comrade who died in the skies years ago. To Cruise, this wasn't just a sequel, it was a chance for Maverick to confront the shadows of his past. Kosinski also made two bold promises. The Dark Star jet would be built and filmed for real, and the film would be called simply Maverick, not Top Gun 2. From adamantly refusing, Cruise suddenly agreed to return after more than 3 decades. But the shock doesn't stop there, because Tom Cruise is deliberately hiding something. 3. To conceal a physical flaw, Tom Cruise had to do something surprising even in a bedroom scene. On screen, Tom Cruise always appears strong, confident, and superior. But few know that in Top Gun, he faced an issue that troubled the entire crew: his height. Kelly McGillis, his leading lady, was 8 centimeters taller than Cruise. This could have shattered Maverick's heartthrob image if not handled carefully. So, the film crew had to get creative to conceal it. Cruise frequently wore platform shoes in many scenes. Cameras were positioned at deceptive angles to make him appear taller. Even in the steamy bedroom scene, Cruise kept his shoes on to avoid revealing the height difference. All these details contributed to creating the perfect leading man image you see. Even more horrifying, one actor nearly lost his life in this film. 4. A scene nearly claimed the life of Ed Harris. Perhaps many viewers think that Ed Harris's scenes in Top Gun: Maverick were merely dialogue, but few know that one of them nearly turned into a tragedy. It was the scene where the Dark Star jet accelerates, flying close past the guard post where Harris was standing. On set, the Dark Star, though just a model, was still pulled at a terrifying speed. The violent vortex of air from the engines slammed directly into Ed Harris, causing him to lose balance on the spot. The wooden guardhouse behind him had its roof torn off, with large pieces flying outward. In that moment, everyone froze, as a single misstep could have led to unimaginable consequences. The crew decided to keep that take and never attempt it again, as the entire set was completely destroyed. And the next truth is so bizarre, it might change how you view the leading man, Cruise. 5. The real-life relationship between Cruise and his co-star was tenser than in the film on screen. Maverick and Iceman are fiery rivals. In real life, Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer, DE, who played Iceman, didn't like each other much either. From the start, they belonged to two different worlds. Cruise was a rising young star with a disciplined, hyper-focused approach to acting. Kilmer, coming from a theatre background, was headstrong, often improvising and adding his own lines. Their clashing work styles made the atmosphere between them constantly tense. After shooting, Cruise kept his distance, focusing on his own schedule, while Kilmer bonded with the supporting cast. They rarely interacted, and that distance turned into coldness, then subtle rivalry. The peak was a hangar argument scene. Kilmer spontaneously added taunting lines aimed directly at Cruise. The set's atmosphere grew so heavy that the entire crew felt the hostility. Yet, ironically, this real-life rivalry made their on-screen confrontations chillingly authentic. The film was so captivating that even a fake object in it once alarmed China. 6. A fake object in the film made Chinese military satellites change course. You must have been awestruck seeing the Dark Star jet streak across the screen. It looked exactly like a top-secret superjet fresh from a US military lab. But the truth is, the Dark Star was just a model built by the crew for filming. This model was designed with such meticulous detail that it fooled even international surveillance systems. During filming, when the Dark Star was placed on the runway, Chinese military satellites detected an unusual object and immediately altered their orbits to take photos. They suspected the US was testing a new weapon when it was merely a cinematic prop. But the next shock hit straight at the wallet. 7. A number that will stun you. Each hour of filming required an unimaginable cost. If you were ever in awe of the dreamlike flight scenes in Top Gun: Maverick, then imagine the price paid for every second of them. Paramount had to spend a colossal sum, $11,374 USD, for each hour of flight, just to rent the planes and pilots. And that was a specially discounted rate from the US Navy. This means a single scene lasting a few minutes could devour tens, even hundreds of thousands of USD. Every hour that passed, $11,374 USD vanished from the budget, a sum enough to buy a luxury car at the time or cover a year of college tuition for a student. For Paramount, every loop of a plane in the sky meant stacks of dollars falling out of the safe. But the behind-the-scenes shocks didn't stop there. 8. Even Tom Cruise was bitterly rejected by the US Navy. Tom Cruise is famous for his daring, always wanting to perform every dangerous scene himself. When returning for Top Gun: Maverick, he made a bold request to personally pilot an FA-18 fighter jet. For Cruise, only that would create absolute authenticity for the role of Maverick. But the US Navy's response stunned the entire crew. A flat refusal. Even if it was Tom Cruise, they couldn't entrust a fighter jet worth over 70 million USD up to an actor. The reason was clear. Safety and costs were too risky. Instead, Cruise was only allowed to sit in the cockpit while a real pilot flew. The G-forces he endured in those scenes created the breathtaking, haunting frames. And then, the next secret wasn't in the skies, but hidden right under the female lead's baseball cap. 9. The female lead's mysterious baseball cap hid an unbelievable truth. Among Top Gun's most memorable scenes, you surely haven't forgotten the elevator moment between Kelly McGillis and Tom Cruise. Kelly appeared with a baseball cap covering her hair, creating a mysterious and bold vibe. But the truth behind that cap was entirely different. At the time, Kelly was simultaneously working on another film where she had to cut her hair short and dye it. When she returned to the Top Gun set, the drastic change made it impossible to maintain her character's continuity. Plus, she had suddenly lost nearly 7 kilos, noticeably altering her face and figure. The only way to hide this was to put a baseball cap on her head, making it part of the scene without audiences noticing. And that's nothing compared to the story of director Tony Scott. 10. A film full of fiery combat scenes had only 2 real ones. Top Gun is famous for its fiery air battles with missiles streaking and explosions ripping through the sky. But the truth might shock you. The entire film had only 2 real missiles fired. The reason came from the US Navy. They agreed to support the crew, but with strict limitations. Firing a real missile was so costly that only 2 were allowed. The rest of the aerial combat scenes relied on models, clever camera angles, or reused archival footage. Yet on screen, it felt so real that audiences believed they were witnessing an actual sky battle. And it didn't stop there. The film's director faced an even more ironic situation. 11. Few know the director was fired 3 times on set. Tony Scott, the man behind Top Gun's success, endured moments of being ousted from the director's chair during filming. The first time, he was sacked for shooting the opening in slow motion, which producers deemed too costly and unnecessary. The second time, he was fired for choosing Kelly McGillis's costume, which didn't satisfy the higher-ups. The third shock came when Scott asked pilots to lower their visors during a scene, obscuring the actors' faces. In theory, 3 strikes should have cost a director their job permanently. But ironically, bad weather that day grounded the helicopter meant to take Scott away. He was forced to keep filming, and those mistakes became iconic parts of the film. But it didn't end there. Even Tom Cruise repeatedly refused Maverick's role until an unexpected shock. 12. Cruise kept refusing Maverick until a nauseating experience. When Top Gun was scripted, Tom Cruise wasn't interested. He repeatedly declined, feeling Maverick wasn't special. Producers persistently pitched, but all got a headshake. That is, until the US Navy invited Cruise to fly with the famed Blue Angels squadron. The flight meant to woo him turned into a nightmare. Cruise vomited profusely, filling the bag in the cockpit. Yet paradoxically, that chaotic, dizzying, near-fainting experience thrilled him. For the first time, Cruise felt the sky's true allure and accepted the role right after the flight. It didn't stop there. The entire cast struggled during training, constantly vomiting from the brutal G-forces. But one rare exception emerged. Anthony Edwards, who played Goose, was the only one unaffected. The film's deceptions were so clever that audiences couldn't tell in familiar scenes. 13. The iconic motorcycle and F-14 scene was fake. One of Top Gun's most iconic images is Tom Cruise riding a motorcycle alongside a massive F-14 jet speeding down the runway. That scene became a poster, a youthful dream for millions, but the truth behind it is entirely different. At the time, Cruise was only beginning to learn to ride a high-powered motorcycle. For safety, the crew used a clever trick. They attached Cruise's bike to a trailer towed along the runway. On camera, audiences saw him freely speeding with the jet, but if you look closely, you might spot the tether on the fender, and there are still so many secrets behind this film. 14. The film's legendary jet never existed. In Top Gun, you surely haven't forgotten the breathtaking dogfights with the so-called MiG-28, the top-secret enemy fighter jet. On screen, the MiG-28 appears cold, jet black and menacing, haunting Maverick and his team. But the truth might surprise you. No MiG-28 ever existed in aviation history. In reality, it was just a US Northrop F-5 painted black to pose as a Soviet jet. Hollywood had to do this, as Cold War restrictions prevented access to real enemy planes. Yet, with camera angles, music, and dramatic pacing, the MiG-28 became etched in audiences' minds as a real fighter jet. Have you ever thought that something non-existent could be so vividly remembered by millions? But the mysterious coordinates in Maverick led to an even more surprising twist. 15. The top secret coordinates in Maverick actually point to the most remote place on Earth. Whenever I saw pilots in the film tensely discussing a secret mission with mysterious GPS coordinates, I felt like I was witnessing a real military plan. It evoked an image of a base hidden deep on the world map, known only to insiders. But when those coordinates were checked in real life, the truth emerged. They led to Point Nemo. Point Nemo is the most remote place on Earth from any continent, isolated in the vast Pacific Ocean, 2,700 kilomiles from land. It's so isolated that it's closer to the International Space Station than any coastline. The crew's choice of these coordinates cleverly avoided revealing sensitive information, while adding a veil of mystery to the film. Hard to believe, right? The top secret map point leads to the loneliest place on Earth. And similarly, a perfectly executed flight scene was actually impossible. 16. The famous upside-down flight scene was completely impossible. The scene where Maverick flips his F-14 upside down, inches above the enemy jet, flashing a middle finger in defiance, is one of the 80s most iconic cinematic moments. But behind that rebellious allure lies a paradox. Veteran pilots confirm, if two jets flew that close in real life, their tails would collide instantly, causing a mid-air catastrophe. In reality, this scene was staged in a studio, blending models with clever cinematic techniques. Though entirely impossible in real life, the scene remains etched in audiences' memories as a symbol of Maverick's daring and defiance. But unlike a staged scene, another moment in the film reflected a harsh real-life truth for one star, 17. A film star suffered the same disease in real life as his character. In Top Gun, Maverick Iceman returns as an aging general, his voice weakened by cancer. What chills audiences is that in real life, Val Kilmer, who played Iceman, suffered the same disease. He battled throat cancer, losing nearly all his voice after multiple surgeries. To complete the role, Kilmer pushed himself to the limit. His voice in the film was kept authentic, enhanced only slightly by digital technology for clarity. His appearance wasn't just a performance but a testament to an artist's resilience. And that effort was recognized, making audiences love Iceman even more. But the behind-the-scenes secrets didn't stop there, as even Kelly McGillis's hair hid an unexpected truth. 18. An iconic love scene was actually filmed. After the movie was done, you surely remember the passionate love scene between Tom Cruise and Kelly McGillis in a dimly lit room, with Take My Breath Away playing. Few know that this iconic scene wasn't part of the original plan. When principal filming ended and editing began, producers felt the film lacked a strong romantic moment to balance the fiery aerial combat. So they called Cruise and McGillis back to shoot the bedroom scene in just a few days. Interestingly, by then, Kelly had changed her hairstyle for another role, forcing the crew to use dim lighting and camera tricks to conceal it. But the next secret is far from small, as it concerns the future of the Top Gun franchise. 19. Top Gun 3 might have to wait until a date that makes fans scream in despair. After the resounding success of Top Gun Maverick, many hoped a third film would soon follow. But reality has crushed those dreams. Tom Cruise is currently swamped with a packed schedule: 2 more Mission Impossible films, a space-filmed project with NASA and SpaceX, and a sequel to Edge of Tomorrow. With that workload, Cruise's schedule is booked solid for years. Experts predict that if Top Gun 3 happens, filming might not start until after 2030, a timeline that leaves fans waiting in agony. And while audiences count the years for a return, a surprising truth about the first film emerges. Top Gun 1986 had no gunfire. 20. An unbelievable secret. In Top Gun 1986, no one fired a shot. Despite the title, Top Gun, Tai-Si, GT, Top Shooter, the shocking truth is that throughout the 1986 film, not a single bullet was fired. All dogfights used missiles. The explosive shootout scenes audiences remember came from rockets, not machine guns. This was a deliberate choice. It reflected modern air combat realities and created a cleaner feel on screen. As a result, Top Gun became a cinematic legend, despite the gun in its title never firing once. Top Gun 1986 is not just a film, but a cultural phenomenon, leaving a lasting mark over nearly 4 decades. Its dramatic behind-the-scenes stories make audiences admire the sacrifice, effort, and creativity behind every frame. Today, Top Gun still retains its allure, a symbol of daring and unyielding spirit. If you found these facts fascinating, leave a like, share with friends to explore together, and don't forget to subscribe to catch more shocking cinematic stories.